guys, Alex with Ozark Bike Guides here at Bike Shop Joe's in Bentonville, doing a review over some hitch-mounted bike racks to carry your bikes to and from the trails or the gravel roads or wherever you're going, maybe on vacation. And so we've got the Kuat Transfer 2 right here, and I'll quickly show you guys how to put it on the vehicle, and then we'll talk about some of the specs of the rack and what I like about it. So it fits both a 1 1/4 inch and a 2 inch hitch. There's an adapter sleeve, and it's just got a simple little bolt that holds that sleeve in place, so it's extremely stable either way. And then it uses this threaded hitch pin, and there's a locking washer included, which is what keeps the pin from backing out while you're driving around. And I find it's easiest to just get it hand tight at first. If you've got a 2 inch hitch, you won't have to thread it down quite as far, but it's still pretty easy to get on. And then we've got a 19mm or a 3/4 inch socket with a ratchet. Will work really well to tighten this down. Good and snug. And then it doesn't come with a lock kit, but for $49 you can get the locking hitch pin and locks for the trays, so you can lock both the rack to the vehicle and the bikes to the rack. So this is basically the folded up driving or storage mode, so that if you're trying to fit inside a garage, super short clearance in the back here, you're going to easily be able to still get that garage door closed. You can also just step on the little lever here and lower it down, and now that's great for getting in and out of the trunk. You can't drive around with it like this, it just sticks out further. You drive around with bikes on it in this position as well. So, and then it has a third position, which is all the way down, and that is once bikes are loaded on there, you can easily get in and out of the trunk still. So we'll show you that in a minute. As far as loading bikes on here, so I like to also take the shepherd's hooks and I tuck them down behind these rear wheel trays so they don't come anywhere. So it's in that folded position, those aren't gonna come undone on you. And then there's a rear wheel strap, so we loosen that strap, open up the hook, and it just folds over out of the way in front of the front tire. And then we'll take our bike, and we do have to put the front wheel of the first bike to the driver's side of the vehicle. And then I just set the back tire down once I get the front one loaded, set it on the rail, not in the tray. That way I can get this little strap above the rim, and I don't have the tire setting on top of it. And then we're going to take the shepherd's hooks here, come up, and we basically want to clamp this down as close as we can to that fork. And I push down pretty firmly. That's basically pulling the tire into the curve of the tray right here. And then I'll reposition this rear wheel so that the spokes aren't hitting the strap at all. And I kind of push down with one hand and pull. There's a little hole on these guys, so you can get a finger in there and pull down on it when you're trying to tighten that down. And then pretty stable setup. As you can see, I can't get into the trunk with this position, but once we get our second bike on here, I'll show you how to get in there. So we get our second bike and set it in there, then find that rear wheel strap, get it where it's above the rim. And the nice thing is these back wheel trays are on a pivot, and so if it's a shorter wheelbase or a longer wheelbase, it's just going to automatically adjust. Now these bikes, sometimes the seat will hit the handlebars, so if you have a dropper post, go ahead and get that down. When the first time you're putting bikes on, you may find that you do need to lower your seat height real quick to accommodate, or maybe raise it up a little bit to get above handlebars. There is a little chip back here that you can flip upside down, and it'll change the angle of these front trays. So most of the time I find it's easier if they're all the way down, lowering the front wheel. But if for some reason your setup, it might be easier to have it up higher, getting those handlebars just above the other tire, and then you maybe don't have to move seats around to get bikes loaded. And that's pretty much going to be something that most racks you're going to have to do something with the seats. We'll lock this down again and adjust that rear wheel, just the curve, the rotation of the tire. Strap that down. Everything's on there. Now with the arms and the wheels out of the way, it's pretty easy to reach my foot down here, release that lever, drop the rack down, and now I can fully get into the trunk of the vehicle, walk around back here, get stuff in and out, pretty easy to load. Close it up, and I just grab onto the bikes, lift up, it's going to automatically lock in place. When we're trying to unload, remember to undo the rear strap first. I push down with my thumb, and if that doesn't quite release it, then push down, push into the rack on the strap, and that'll definitely get it released. And I can actually, with one hand, completely get that undone. This guy does sometimes take two hands just to get enough pressure to push that down and unlock it, especially if you've got it really nice and tight. Get it out of the way, and then tilt towards you. If it's mounted higher up on a taller vehicle, you might want to grab like the seat tube and the fork here and pick it up so you're not lifting just with your arms. Use your legs. And then same thing with our other bike. Push with my thumb. I may have to push that strap down a little bit just to get it to release. Keep a hand on the handlebar so it doesn't fall into your vehicle or like the other bike falling into this bike. You also want to watch the pedal position. So I find that if you put the pedal that's on the inside between the two bikes about where the tire is, so just kind of line the crank up with the tire, and that'll usually, if there's a pedal on here, it'll keep it from hitting the other bike. Usually they're spaced out enough that the pedals aren't going to hit the other bike, but the pedals on the two bikes might hit each other. So if you just put the cranks in this kind of position, it tends to resolve, keep that from being an issue. Same thing, lean it to us, pick it up. And then when we want to go back into storage mode, boom. And these guys do have a lock. So there's a lock kit for 50 bucks. And this guy's basically just going to go either through like the suspension fork or through the frame, lock into itself right here. There's a key that you use to unlock it on the top, and then the whole thing slides right back down in there. I haven't had any issues with this coming undone while I was driving. And then I tuck those trays up so you can see to load the arms, you do have to pull up on those rear wheel trays so that the shepherd's hooks will lock into place and not get in the way whenever you're driving, so they're not going to come out banging into the car a lot. And this rack comes in at $329. That's for the two bike, and the lock kit's another $50. So for $380 before tax, for a tray style rear hatch accessible rack with the locks at that price, it's a really good deal. This is about 37 pounds for the two bike, so pretty lightweight. You can see it's pretty easy for me to pick it up and load it myself, so if you do have to take it on and off of the car a lot, it's a great option. It's really, really easy to load all kinds of different bikes with that automatic rear tray adjustment. So if you're, got different members of the family using the rack at different times, and maybe somebody doesn't use it as often, it should be pretty straightforward for them to still use this rack without bikes falling off. And the other thing I like on this guy is that with the hitch being able to fit both sizes, so it's a 3-bike option. And most racks, in the 3-bike option, they either have a 2-bike or they have a 4-bike option. There's no 3-bike option for a lot of companies. So you can get a really affordable 3-bike rack, and it'll fit an 1.25" hitch on a 3-bike. Most racks that are more than 2 bikes that are a tray style rack, you do have to have at least a 2-inch hitch. So it's a pretty awesome, versatile rack from that standpoint. It'll fit anything from small kids 20-inch wheel bikes up to 29-inch plus. There are adapters for these trays, so you can get different trays that are wider. So it'll fit a 3-inch wide tire on these trays, and anything 4 to 5 inches, you have to get those adapters. So pretty versatile bike. It'll fit a 47-inch wheelbase as well, so pretty much any extra large, long travel, laid out enduro or downhill bikes, it'll still fit it pretty well. Up to 20-inch smaller kids bikes. Pretty much anything except a bike with training wheels is going to fit on this rack. If you have fenders and stuff, that hook will usually be in front of a front fender. Rear fenders, it's strapping by the wheel, so not a big deal there. So you've got racks and other stuff, bags on your bike, in the frame, where a hanging style where the bike frame has to sit on top of these. It'll fit bikes with stuff going on them. You don't have to take your water bottles and other stuff off. You don't have to get adapters to fit bikes on here. And so that's what makes this a really versatile, budget-friendly, family-friendly rack from Kuat Racks out of Springfield, Missouri.